Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. I forgot to take that off. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to hell. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. We are going to get the 2S Walksnail rig put back together by tearing apart the 1S Walksnail 75mm rig. I tried all the motors, and there's no way that I've found to get the amount of power and runtime that I'm looking for. There are motors that give the power, like the VCI 0802.8 27,000s, but then the runtime sucks. There are motors that have the runtime, like these Beta FPV 1102 22,000s, but there's not enough power. Moving this over to a 2S platform gave me both of those things. It gave me the power and the runtime that I was looking for. And it only gained 2 grams in doing so. And so, yeah, I left the 1S rig together, and then I just never flew it. Because the 2S rig did everything better. More power, more runtime. 2 extra grams, well worth it. So this is just not going to get flown, and so it's silly to have a $100 Walksnail system tied up on this. So I'm going to tear it apart. It seems insane to tear this apart because there's probably like 20 hours of live streams dialing this thing in to get it absolutely as good as it can possibly be, and this really is. Like, this is as good as it ever got. If you're stubborn and you refuse to do the 2S thing and you want to build a Walksnail 75mm, this is the way to go. This is an Air 75 frame, old school Mobulus 6 canopy, Walksnail light, Beta FPV F4 cross style 5 amp AIO, the old school one. Beta FPV 1102 22,000s. Propellers are your choice. There's really only two options. Get them both, but you want bi-blades, and that's it. That's the full build. Flies okay, but not good enough. And so we're going to tear it apart, desolder the Walksnail, put it onto the 2S setup, and this guy will be back in the air, and we'll have something that flies an awful lot better. The 2S setup is Mobula. Yeah, I said Air 75 frame for the 1S rig. The 2S setup is Mobula 7 V3 frame, RC and power 1002 18,000s, 19,000s, 19,000s. Motor limited down a little bit, like 80-85%. 1mm motor spacers, which you can get from me. I don't think they're on the Etsy store yet, but you can just message me for them. It's $5 for a set of 4. M 1.4 by 5 screws, which are the correct length. M 1.4 by 4 will work, but it's a little bit too short, and you risk stripping out the stator. So M 1.4 by 5 is the way to go. I've got 100 right here. $5 for a set of 13. I always send you one extra in case you lose one. The AIO that I like so far is the Beta FPV 12 amp version 3, and then Mobula 6 canopy. We're going to pull the top off this rig. We're going to pull the canopy, the antenna, the camera, and the VTX right off the top. Desolder it, solder it onto here, and we're good to go. So yeah, that's the 2S build. That's absolutely outrageous. This is the same 2S build, hopefully, that we will use to power a 04, the lightweight 04 setup that it's apparently coming out tomorrow. Whenever I can, I will snag that. The expensive bit is going to be getting a set of goggles that work with the 04 system. Ian just did Mads Tech just did a pretty funny little video where he interviewed himself about the 04 system and like what we know so far. Really, really, really well done. You should watch it. I don't know what direction I'm gonna go with the goggles yet. The new. So what are the new goggles are called 03 goggles, right? The new 03 goggles are super tempting, but I believe the battery is built in. There's no way to power them with an external battery. Is that right? Does anybody know that for a fact? If that's the case, that's a complete deal breaker. Goggles 3, that's it. Thank you, Curtis. They're super tempting, but they're also awful expensive. The Goggles 2 will apparently work, but you don't get race mode. But who the hell is going to use race mode anyway? So I'll probably end up trying to find a set of used Goggles 2 or Integras. What's the difference between the Goggles 2 and the Integras? Any of these that I get, I have to be able to run external power or have swappable batteries because the broadcast system, the broadcast rigs are going to get swapped over from old school Vistas to probably to 03s because it doesn't look like there's any 04 system yet that'll work with that, but I'm sure there will be. It'll probably be a new smart controller. I don't know. We'll see. But regardless, whatever goggles I get have to have the ability to be powered externally so that I can run them for hours and hours and hours. And I feel like I remember hearing that Goggles 3 won't do that. There has to be a way to recharge them, though. So wouldn't you be able to plug a USB and a USB power bank in? If they've set those goggles up so that you can either charge them or run the goggles from the internal battery, I'm going to burn it all down. I don't know. The Goggles 3 are super interesting, but like, it looks like the only benefit is going to be race mode, and that's pretty worthless. And I can probably find someone bailing on Goggles 2 or Integras to switch to Goggles 3, and then I can save a bunch of money. And that's what matters most, to be quite honest. And then what'll happen is they'll put out a new smart controller, and they'll be like, all right, this new smart controller only works on Goggles 3. And then I can go, and then I can scream the F word into the heavens. So there's that. In the chat, Uriel was first, Frank Nichols was next, Captain FPV, David Chong, Cole Powers, BMF Spade, Notice, King Dingling, Danzilla the Terrible, J Monk, Mick Mucus, Uriel again, Zip369, Bird Person FPV, Danzilla the Terrible, Barron's Baked Beans, Islander FPV, Scotty Scott, Skull 901, Northern Tier. Is that Fly? That's Flykadelic. That's a fun name. Flykadelic, Cole Powers, Green Thumb. I gotta take a crap. Bent FPV, Doubles FPV, Danzel the Terrible, Alley Cat, Ray's FPV. You know, this is what you get around here. You get total stream of consciousness. Islander FPV, Brent Anderson, Rays, Morton Upshot, Notice. Himox, RC Thrills, Douglas 6. Who else is here? Everyday with Bruno, Cheetonian. Look at you guys talking amongst yourselves in chat. RC Thrills, Green Thumb, Curtis Hayes. I think I got everybody. T-Blood, Dronesen, Morton Upshot, Michael J. Cinestyles. That's everybody. Brand Anderson. What's up, friends? If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do that, it'll light up in orange. You can do that with each other. If you want to get Notice's attention, just type Notice into your chat. Just think, every single time anyone types the word Notice into their chat, for Notice, it shows up in orange. That must be maddening. You guys should definitely not force the word Notice into as many of your chat messages as possible. I will notice if you do that. I won't. He will. To support me, because this is a completely crowdfunded thing. That way, whenever I review something, you don't wonder, like, is he being soft on that product because he wants that company to send him more stuff? No! I don't care. I tell them basically to not send me anything. Head on over to CiottiFPV and just click all the buttons. Here's the streaming schedule, also the screaming schedule. Patreon helps me out the most, and you can join it for as little as $3 a month. It is the best way to support me. It's 10 cents a day. I do 10 hours of live streaming a week every single week. You can't tell me that that's not worth it. Etsy has some fun stuff you can buy, a bunch of stickers, some hardware, some full builds. Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me. Treat yourself to some knowledge, my friends. Stop getting shit information on Facebook and Reddit. I've been doing this for over 8 years. I can help you fly better, tune better, build better, and teach you all those things all along the way. Teespring has some fun shirts and apparel, but not this one. This is a very special shirt that I had an eBay alert for over 4 years, I think it was. For this official BBC Top Gear Captain Slow shirt. I ended up paying like over $40 for this shirt, but I don't care because that's how big of a Top Gear nerd I am. PayPal, you can support me directly without YouTube taking 30% of your super chat. Just make sure that if you do a PayPal, you tag me in the chat and say, yo, Ciotti, check your PayPal, because you deserve a shout out for supporting me, yo. And then I got a ton of affiliate links. Change all your bookmarks to someone's affiliate links. Support people. And then we'll make more stuff for you to watch on PayPal. Not PayPal, YouTube. Also, if you don't use bookmarks and like when you want to go to Amazon, you type AMA, remove your current suggestions for when you go to these websites. Do it one per live stream. Right now, take one of these and like Beta FPV, like when you type BETA for Beta FPV, if your suggestion in your URL bar is betafpv.com, remove that suggestion. You can either right click it, or sometimes there's a little X that'll say remove suggestion. Remove it, and then hit my affiliate link like 2 or 3 times in a row. And then next time you type BETA for beta, it'll suggest my affiliate link, and you can support me without even thinking about it. If you don't use my affiliate links, use someone's. Just support us, and we'll make good stuff for you to watch. Amazon, Get FPV, Pyro Drone, Race Day Quads, Newbie Drone, We Bleed FPV, Beta FPV, FPV Cycle, Hasingi, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD0, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress are all of the places that I have affiliate links. There's some other fun stuff down here. Click it and you'll have a good time, guaranteed. That's how you support me. If you support me, I'll keep doing this and we can keep learning together. Uriel says, CiottiFPV, where can I get the adult Spidey jammies? I don't know, that's on you. J Monk says, what's up? Denzel the Turbo says, I was first, don't believe those other hooligans. Raze says, what's up? Uriel says, is there a racing circuit in your neighborhood? There's not, but the cops would have you believe that I've created one. Notice says, what do we think about... No, I'm very boring. I do not drive very fast anymore. I'm boring. Although I used to be pretty good about keeping it as far away from everyone else as possible, and or at the racetrack. Notice says, what do we think about the 1S 75mm builds with 45mm props, though? They gain a lot of weight, and you get a little bit more thrust. You don't really get much, if any, more runtime. It's like, if you can find an AIO that fits, which is one of the problems with the Meteor 75 Pro frame, you get a tiny little bit more power and a tiny little bit more runtime. It's not enough. It's not even close to being enough. Compared to the 2S builds, it's like Fisher-Price my first quad. It's just, yeah, it's not enough. It's a shame. But the Meteor 75 Pro as a bind and fly is pretty awesome. Like, as a just throw batteries into it and rail it around the yard, it's really, really, really good. But compared to a fully customized build, it can't hold a candle to any of these 2S setups that we're doing. So, yeah. Himok says, EX802, 19,000, 1mm shaft. I want to use the Happy Model 802, 20,000, 1.5mm shaft for 2S, or is it too much KV? Nope. KVs for the 2S 75mm builds from like 15,000 all the way up to like, the safe limit is 20,000. If you got a set of 22,000 kV motors, you'll be all right. Just start your motor limiting low. Start your motor limiting at like 60%, fly it, make sure it doesn't explode, and then creep it up from there. It's always better to, if you're gonna motor limit too low, be super safe, give yourself the experience of flying with too little power, and then creep the power up a little bit. That will lead you to not flying a rig that is overpowered. Whereas if you put 20,000 kV motors onto a 2S rig and you run it about 100%, it's going to have all the power in the world. You're going to be like, yo, this is super fun. And then maybe you'll motor limit it down a little bit. That's going to lead you to fly a rig that kind of has too much power. When you power limit too low and then you creep it up, you'll get to a point where you'll get to like 75% and you'll be like, oh, this is pretty good. And now you have a rig with much better throttle resolution. The less power, the better the throttle resolution, the better you will fly it. It won't be as much fun, but you will fly closer to objects, your flight footage will look better, and you will feel better about yourself. And it'll be a lot easier on the FETs, and you'll get better runtime, and there's lots of advantages there. Don't fly rigs with too much power if you want to get good and if you want your flight footage to look really good. The other thing is, like, overpowered rigs, they're super fun for like 2 batteries. And then it's like, well, now what, right? Like, you can only go full throttle and go shooting up into the sky so many times before you're like, well, all right, What's next? You know what I'm saying? So always throttle, if you're going to build a rig that needs motor limiting, or just in general, always motor limit down and see if you can stomach having less power. And then you creep it up a little bit. Hemok says, that was a great video. I enjoyed it a lot. What video is that? Me flying at Rampage at the beginning of the live stream? Curtis Hayes says, oh, no. Ian's video. Yeah, he did a great job with that. Curtis Hayes says, Goggles 3. What about Goggles 3? Brandon's Baked Bean says, G3, and I have them. They are built in, but the battery will last a long time because they have BMS integrated. What's a BMS? BMS? BMS. Bristol Myers Squibb. Got it. They have a Bristol Myers Squibb integrated. I'm certain that they won't last 3 and 4 and 5 hours straight, though, which is what I do at these live flying gigs, live broadcast gigs. So yeah, there's no way that I can, and I'm not buying 2 sets of those goggles. That's insane. Ain't nobody got money for that. Cheetonian says all the new DJI goggles have unremovable batteries. Goggles 3 have a battery on the strap. I have Goggles 2 for sale right now. What's the deal between Goggles 2 and Integra? Somebody tell me. Brandon's Big Bean says my original DJI packs from the V2 are still growing strong. Frank Nicholas says new DJI goggles are N3. Yeah, I don't want those. I don't want box goggles again. And the battery is attached / built in. You can connect external power to the goggles / built-in battery while using the goggles. All right, cool. So that's the N3. Does that also apply to the Goggles 3? Curtis Hayes says Goggles 2 can use external antennas and power. All right, good. What about the Integras? Brandon Zipine says Integras don't have adjustable optics for eyeglass wearers. That's okay. I don't need that. RC Thrills says the Goggles 3 could be made to be external. Skull says Integras have battery in the head strap. Frank Nicholas says just like Goggles 3, battery built in, but can use external power attached while using Goggles 3. Awesome. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, good. So yeah, that would just be a matter of having a USB power bank in my pocket and just running a, I'm sure, USB-C up to it. I'll be honest, I would kind of rather have the old school setup of like I hate having wires coming off the goggles. I really prefer to have like 3, 4, 5 barrel plug batteries that I can run on the side of the goggles and just plug the barrel plug in from like a redundancy standpoint. Like a USB power bank, I don't see how that could possibly fail, but still, I prefer the goggles to be like the goggle and the battery to be one thing that I can hot swap in and out. On the other hand, I already have to run a USB cable coming out of the goggles to get to the smart controller to then output to the TV truck. But like that's annoying enough to have that one cable. I don't then want to have 2 cables, one going into my pocket, one going to the goddamn table. So yeah, and I would love to save money and buy used goggles too, Frank Douglas says, yes, you can charge and use the goggles at the same time. Thank you, brother. So that's interesting. If there are significant advantages to the Goggles 3, so first, God damn it, man, it's going to really depend upon the method of getting the video out of the goggles into HDMI. Is it going to be a new smart controller? Does the existing smart controller work? Is it going to have to be a new version of the Cosmos streamer? Farts. Curtis Hayes says, I have Goggles 2 for sale in your Discord for $325 plus shipping, but I'll sell them to you for $300 no shipping charge. I might take you up on that, Curtis. Let me just do a little bit more research. Who can tag me and tell me quick the difference between, not like quick, but like succinctly, the main differences between Goggles 2 and the Integras? I think the Goggles 2 are the way to go. But if there's some like weird thing that the Integras do better, I don't know. Dronson says, I hope you're well, my friend. I hope you are as well. Somebody said, who farted? It was me. Frank Nicholas says, BMS equals battery management system. What does that mean then? What is battery Oh. It doesn't, I'm assuming that means that it doesn't just hammer the hell out of the battery the entire time it's plugged in. But still, yeah, I mean, I'm flying for 3-4 hours at a time. I'm certain that battery won't last for that long. You know, I'm doing like 50, 60, 70, 80 batteries. Scrolling back up to try to find my place. Chat is absolutely on fire tonight. Chitonian knew that I farted. Ray's says, Uriel, CiottiFPV needs his hand grease to moisten his hair. I do. Yeah, it's still unruly. I gotta get a haircut is really what's happening here. It's when it gets this long, there's almost no taming it. It's a veritable force up there. We got that. J Monk says, my ELRS was working fine, then it doesn't. I can't bind my remote with a battery plugged in. Instead, I have to connect the quad to Betaflight first, then plug the battery in, then it works. J Monk, I think you asked this the other night, and my question to you was, then what? Right? So, like, you plug into Betaflight, you bind it, then it works. Then what? Does it work for one battery? Does it work forever? Does it work for 2 batteries? Right? That's what I need to know to try to troubleshoot. Uriel says, nice shirt. Thank you, dude. Most expensive shirt I own. J Monk says, what do I need to check on besides the wiring? You don't need to check on the wiring. There's nothing about the wiring that'll cause a rig to come unbound. But I need to know when it becomes unbound to... I mean, here's the thing. If it comes unbound, the receiver's effed up. Like there's no switch that you've missed that says like come unbound at random to drive me crazy. So like if it has an external receiver, that external receiver is broken. If it's an AIO, the AIO is broken. ELRS should not. There's nothing that really causes ELRS to come unbound other than like on some AIOs, if you run your battery down really low, it'll actually wipe Betaflight out in a really weird way. So try not running your batteries down as low. If you're running your batteries down to like 3.1 volts, 3 volts, stop doing that. If you're coming in at like 3.5, it's just broken, unfortunately. Denzel the Trouble says, Captain Slow is the best of the 3. Fight me. You could make a strong argument that Hammond was the best of the 3. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm team May. He's hysterical on like such a subtle, insane level. He's just the best. He's the goddamn best. His books are like painfully detailed and like bordering on boring at times. His cooking show is amazing. His wine tasting show with Oz Clark is absolutely incredible. His Our Man in Japan series is really good, and then he also did Our Man in Italy, which is incredible. He's the best. He's so good. On the other hand, though, Hammond has some great stuff. Richard's book is phenomenal. All of the stuff that he's doing on YouTube now is really, really good. His workshop is incredible, The Smallest Cog. So, yeah. And I mean, obviously, Jeremy's great, too. His show with Caleb, them working on the farm is just is just fantastic. But you know, I mean, Jeremy's the easiest choice of like, oh, he's the best, and I mean, he's hysterical, but he's a bit much, and he's a little like he's a little alpha male, and he's a little sexist, and yeah, you know, the other two are more what I consider to be like proper modern masculinity rather than just like smash. But all three of them are amazing. Dronesen says, using some Christmas gift cards to build my Walksnail 2S, use your affiliate link to PyroDrone. Thank you, brother. Very cool of you. Chitonian says, update on my 7-year-old nephew I gave the Hisingi to. He loves it. He has, within 2 weeks, graduated from line of sight to using goggles, zipping around inside his house. Goggles do fit a tiny human. Nice. That's awesome. I had a feeling that the Hisingi setup would be awesome for kids. That's awesome. Cinesile says, please tell me what the best Tiny Whoop is. Cinesile, there is no such thing as best. There's just different. I don't know anything about you. I don't know how long you've been flying. I don't know where you fly. I don't know. So, for example, right? Linked over on my website is my Fiverr page. One of the things that I do on Fiverr, one of the gigs that I have on there, is build planning. When you link up with me for a half an hour or an hour-long build planning session, I've got this big list of like 20 questions that I just hammer you with right off the rip. How long have you been flying? Where do you fly? How often do you fly? What do you do with your flight footage? What's the goal for FPV for you? Is it having fun? Is it becoming a pro pilot? All these different questions. The answers to all those different questions, which usually take like the first 10 to 15 minutes of our session, those are what dial me into what the right build for you would be. There's no such thing as best because everybody's different. My best build, you might absolutely hate. You might be lukewarm to it. You might love it. But I'm a pilot that's been flying for over 8 years. I fly a lot in this basement with a lot of gates. So for me, very specifically, a super overpowered, relatively lightweight, but not totally lightweight rig is the best for me. Most people would fly that and not be able to handle it because of how much power it has. And it might be too heavy for them. See what I'm getting at here? So yeah, there is no such thing as best. When you go on Facebook groups, when you go on Reddit, when you hang out here on YouTube and look at a lot of the content creators, they will almost constantly say, oh, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best, no, now this is the best, no, now this is the best. It's, you know, when I see people saying that things are the best, that is a big red flag to me. That either they're just trying to sell me something, right? They just want me to click their affiliate link so they can make some money off me, or they just don't understand. They haven't been in this long enough. They haven't been sort of like thoughtful enough in the time that they have been in FPV, or they just don't care to have the conversation that we're having right now, and explain to you that, like, yeah, no such thing as best. There's a whole bunch of different stuff, and you got to do a little bit of work, and you got to spend a little bit of time to research and try to figure out what you think might be the best for you. Or you pay somebody that's super experienced to ask you a whole bunch of questions to get dialed in. But most people, their path is that they do a bunch of research, and then they buy some stuff, and then they fly it around, and you want to be as like realistic with yourself as possible about like what you do and don't like about it. And then you modify it a little bit, and you see what you like better, what you like not as much about the changes that you just made. And then you modify it again, and then you modify it again, and then you try something different. And through that process, which in FPV will usually take some time, 6 months to a year, you will dial in on the best build for you. And so there you go. No such thing as best, just different. Mark GFPV says, just realized the Mob Light 7 Walksnail could be the simplest way to get a 2S 75mm build. Just need to change to BT 3.0 and frame. Same thing as the Mobula 7 1S ELRS. Change the frame, change to BT 3.0, and you're good to go. Basically, any 75mm rig with the X12 in it, it's a super easy power lead and frame swap to get into 2S75. Islander FPV says, here's the bonus of if you can find an old Mobula 7 1S ELRS that's been sitting on a shelf for a while, is it might have a Runcam Nano 3 in it. Islander FPV says, notice that I'm equal parts grateful and excited for the Weebleed 40,000 kV motors I won Monday, planning my first 65mm. I live in a tiny cabin, so fly outside. Would a 35mm prop make sense? Nope, 35mm props don't make any sense. They are just the hype train trying to get you to spend more money. You do not want to go down the 35mm prop rabbit hole. They're heavier, but they're not big enough, and so they don't do anything well. They don't fly inside well. They don't fly outside well. You just end up with something that's like, kind of crappy runtime, but heavier than it needs to be. Martin Tanley says, have you tried an 85mm on the 2S builds? I haven't. The 75mm 2S builds have plenty of power and plenty of runtime, and they're significantly lighter than what an 85mm build would be. So, I have no need to go up in prop size. The right reason to go up in prop size is when you're not getting enough efficiency, runtime, and or you're not getting enough power. And we have both of those things on the 75. So, yeah. The 04 system is going to be, it looks like 4 grams heavier than the Walksnail setup. That is potentially a reason to go up to 85mm. Those extra 4 grams, there's a chance that they will wreck the power to weight ratio and or wreck the efficiency. And so we'll see. I would rather do it on the 75mm platform because there are more parts available for it. There are more frames, there are more props, there are more motors that are, just the right size and KV for 75mm builds. But, and so that's where I'm going to start for sure. But if it comes down to it, and it's not enough power, not enough efficiency, 85 will be where I go immediately. Denzel the Trouble says, the hair is just out of control today. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess, man. I was just at Wicked Westy dancing my ass off, couples dancing my ass off for a couple of hours, and so I'm a sweaty mess, and I'm learning to follow, and a lot of the leads are not as tall as I am. So when the leads go to put their arm over my head, a lot of times they're kind of pushing up against it, but in the opposite direction, and then that makes it go all bananas. And so that's why I can feel that it's a fucking mess, which is why I keep touching it, but also by touching it a lot, my hand grease gets into it, and that's what actually gets it to fucking stay in place. So it's getting there. It's getting there, man. Let's do this. We'll just lean into it. There we go. Is that better? CMYKFPV is in the house. He says, downside to running 3-inch props on 1804 3500 kV. The only downside is it's just not quite high enough of a kV, but with a pitchy 3-inch prop like the Gemfan 3052, or if you can find them, the T-Motor 3140, it's just barely enough, and it's gonna give you a build with amazing throttle resolution. And there's something to be said for that. It's not gonna be a build that you can hurdle over 14 trees, but it's going to be a build that you can really comfortably fly super close to stuff because you're going to have this amazing throttle resolution, because in the throttle throw, there's not 10,000 grams of thrust. And so I really dig it. I gotta fly these more. My Grinderino, Walksnail Grinderino, is on the XNovas, and what's cool about it is that it's a 3.5-inch frame. So like at the moment, just for experimentation, I put 3.5-inch props on it. And when you put 3.5-inch props on the XNova 1804 3500s, you get the power back. And it's nuts. Like this there's plenty of KV on these bigger props. These are the more pitchy GemFan 3.5s. Yeah, these are the 3525s. They're a little bit harder to find, but you can find them. This is nutty. This is absolutely just righteous with these propellers on these motors. When I move this down, what I really built this for is to run this with the T-Motor 3140s, 3140. You give up a significant amount of power, but you still have just barely enough, in my opinion. And it should be your opinion too, because I think it's super easy nowadays to fly super overpowered rigs. And like, again, that's fun for a few batteries, but then it's just kind of a pain in the ass after that. So yeah, like I said, I need to fly this more, man. I rushed to get this done before Castle Crash, and I had a blast with it. Something happened to it though. Oh yeah, the camera mount was being a dick. But I got that sorted now, and then I never put it back. I never put it back up in the air with the fixed camera mount. So I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna put this over here, in a spot that I'll see it and be reminded to go outside and blast it around a little bit. If you don't know, the XNova 1804 3500 kV motors are arguably my favorite micro motors of all time. They have a 3mm motor shaft, and you can get them with M5 nut, like you just saw. The 3mm motor shaft means they're hysterically durable. The 1804 size stays ultra cool, right? Because of the width to height ratio, 4, 8, 12, 16, right? So it's a 4-to-1 width to height ratio. That's a wide motor that's going to stay really cool. So every time you go full throttle, you get the exact same amount of power. Like, they're never overheated. The efficiency is great. You can actually buy the motors from Pyrodrone. You don't have to like dig all over the internet to actually try to find the motors in stock or just available somewhere. It's just a great motor, but 3500 kV is just like, if that motor was 4000 kV, it would be absolutely perfect. But like I said, even at 3500 on 4S with 3-inch props, as long as you get the pitchy 3-inch props, it's a great motor. Where was I? Frank Nicholas says, oh no, we got that. B-Mud Skipper says, I'm researching ways to improve my 2S Meteor 75 Pro with Naked 03. I came across Butterfly FPV 20 AWG main lead upgrade, so I also did motor wire to 26 AWG from 30, and wow, it's noticeable. Yeah, 30 is way too small. Yeah, 26 from 30 to 26, that's for sure going to be noticeable. I've had rigs that I've gone from 22 to 20 and I didn't notice a difference. I'm not a racer. Butterfly FPV does a lot of racing, and with racing, you've got a control. You've got a racetrack, you're going to run that over and over again, and you've got timing, and then you've got runtime. And so in that scenario, you can tell the difference between when you make small changes like that. For freestyle, it's awful hard to tell the difference. And so that is probably why I couldn't tell a difference. But yeah, 30. Why did it have 30 gauge power wires? That is way too small. Alley Cat says, would you suggest 1604 motors for a 3.5-inch quad? Yes, the T-Motor Pacer 1604s are a really nice set of motors. I've had a set sitting here that I've been waiting to use on a build. I just haven't. I don't fly outside much anymore. They are 30. You can get them in 3800 kV, which is a little bit better than 3500 kV. Yeah, they're great. 1604 is a great size. Awesome set of motors. I think they have 3mm motor shafts. Maybe not. Is that 3mm or 2mm? It's hard to tell. Hold on. Yeah, screw it. I'll get the calipers out. Yay. I really want to know. All right, let's see. Let's see what the motor shafts are. If they're not 3mm motor shafts, I'm going to say no. Because with 3.5 inch rigs, that really does make a big difference. Can you power on, please? Calipers? Whenever you're ready. Okay, I've put the battery in all 4 ways that it can be put in. Why is it not turning on? I'm going to put it back the way that I think it should be. What is happening? Why are you like this? Yeah, there it is. User error. I wasn't pushing the battery far enough in. Oh, this might be a 2mm motor shaft. Come on! Open up, Jaws. Why can't I do this? Why do I have rabies? Hold on. Arr. Yarr. Why can't I get these to... There it is. 1.95. Don't do it. There are the XNova 1804s, which are available over at Pyrodrone, have a 3mm motor shaft, which is so much more durable. If you don't crash a lot, or if you typically crash into grass, you'll be okay with these. But I don't understand why these motor manufacturers are not putting 3mm motor shafts on every single motor that's 15 millimeters, that has a stator that's 15 millimeters wide or wider. It really... The only excuse is that they don't have anyone that flies and or anyone that crashes. And that's crazy. So, yeah, no. If you have like an ultralight Cinewhoop or something like that where you're never going to bang the motor into the concrete, sure, they're a great set of motors. But for like a freestyle rig that you're going to thrash and smash, that 2mm motor shaft is going to bend all over the place. Can't recommend them. Frank Nicholas says Goggles 2 has external battery. Integrated has battery on strap. I think I want the Goggles 2. I think I want Goggles 2. Frank Nicholas says Goggles 3 applies to what I said above about external power while using. Okay. Curtis Hayes says Integra don't allow for different antennas without pulling them apart. That is a total deal breaker. Okay. Fair enough. That's all I need to know. Thank you, Curtis. Goggles 2 or Goggles 3 it is. Curtis Hayes also says, my Goggles 2 use replaceable batteries, and I have Velcro on the straps, so they're on the back of my head. Very cool. Frank Nicholas says, I agree that I prefer external battery and not integrated. Uriel says, in Shadow Place, I put HDMI in television. I hate goggles. In Shadow Place? What does that mean? Yo, in 2025, I've now watched Lord of the Rings on New Year's into New Year's. Izzy and Eva came over and they brought Lord of the Rings Blu-rays, and we watched the first 2 movies, And then a couple days after that, I watched the third movie. And then last night, Maggie and I watched the fourth movie. And I've now officially seen Lord of the Rings. It was super sad when Dumbledore died. Man, Dobby was a jerk off though. That what a prick, that Dobby. Jesus. Harry and Ron's love affair was nice to watch though. So it was a good series. I liked it. I liked Lord of the Rings. It was all right. I'm not sad that I waited this long to watch it. So that's my attempt at making the true Lord of the Rings fans out there just fucking hate me. Just absolutely hate me. My ex-wife was a massive Harry Potter fan, and I watched all those and I read all those books, and then I don't know, like I was like cool for that genre. Like I didn't need to watch Lord of the Rings at that point, and you know, ever since then, like I don't know, it's whatever. I like, yeah, it was a great like now that I've seen it. You know what's funny? Like I feel like I'd seen it. I've seen so many Lord of the Rings memes that like I swear to God I could just tell what was going to happen next. But I mean, I guess also at 43 years of age now, it also, as someone who like went to college for TV, radio, film, and has watched tons of movies and shows and everything, like there's a protagonist, there's an antagonist, things happen, right? Like it's hard to surprise me with something. And so, yeah, but it was good. Like, don't get me wrong, it was good. And I am kind of glad that I've now seen it. But yeah, I don't know. Weird, dude. There so many memes. Oh my God, so many fucking memes. Like, every 10 minutes, I'd be like, oh my God, there's a scene from a meme. Oh, there's like, super weird to watch that series for the first time in 2025. But yeah, I don't know. That Ginny Weasley, man. Woo! Hold on, YouTube did the thing. I don't know where I'm at in chat. Let me find my spot. Be honest. If you're a real Lord of the Rings fan and you're pissed, be honest. Type it in chat. Tag me in chat. Call me a bad name. Oh my God, I'm scrolling so far up. Where the hell was I? There we go. Brad Bondin says, just order the XNovas and 3140 props for my 3.5-inch build. You're going to love it, dude. Brennan's Baked Bean says, with my V2 goggles, I like to have the battery in my pocket, but the G3 is well balanced and I don't notice the weight on the back. Yeah, I love the idea of having the battery on the back of the goggle strap. Usually the pain in the ass is the wire that runs around, so I love that they like built the wire into the strap. That's super cool. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. JPC says, is Fractal 75 any good? Nope. BMF Spade says, FPV Remote 3 works with Goggles 3. FPV Remote 2 works with Goggles 2. Can't mix and match. That's okay. I'll never use one of those DJI game controllers. Anthony, I will also never use DJI's transmitter link. I will always use ELRS. At this point, yeah, ELRS. Anthony Greco says Goggles 2 has 51 degrees field of view, and Integra and Goggles 3 have 44. For me, my Goggle 2 can be a bit blurry on the edges due to this, and have been considering the Integra or the Goggles 3. That's interesting. I'm pretty okay with different field of views. My DJI helmet version 1, whatever, V2 goggles, I actually have the screen shrunken down. The field of view is just so big on those. In the menu, they allow you to like take everything and shrink it down to like 80%, which is kind of perfect. If I get the goggles too, if they have that same feature, I'd probably do that just to shrink it down a little bit. Because 44, 45, that's about perfect. Moss1 says, what 65mm frame do you recommend for the 2G4? Cockroach V3 for durability, Cockroach Light AF for lightweight, both made by Newbie Drone. Morton Upshot says, for sure. If you're running taller motors like VCI or Beta FPV, you can also run the Air 65 frame. I don't know. It's not as durable in my experience. The Cockroach frame is the way to go. Morton Upshot says, I had hair like that 25 years ago, cow licks and all. Then my hair took the caddy and left me a mule to ride. I've never heard that saying. My hair took the KATY and left me a mule to ride. J Monk says, becomes unbound when I unplug the battery after the flight. Okay. Yeah, that's not right, and there's no like setting to make that happen. So, yeah, whatever that is, if it's an external receiver, replace it. If it's an AIO, you kind of have to replace it. It's just broken. Green Thumb FPV says Clarkson is a bell end. Tried to get political there. BMS B Mud Skipper says I suggest Integra, but the goggles too has external battery. Integra is cheaper for the same thing. That's the plus for the Integra. Yeah, I knew the Integra was a little bit less money, which is kind of why I'm like, but feels like the goggles too are the way to go. I'll do a little bit more research. Denzel the Trouble says, have you seen May's show about old toys? So good. Oh my God, yeah. Oh, and Man Lab too. Man Lab is fantastic. James May has more amazing shows than any of the other guys. The toy show is called Toy Story. James May's Toy Story. Phenomenal. James May's Man Lab is almost as good, but James May's Toy Stories is one of my favorite shows from all those three. It might be my favorite non-Top Gear show from those three. It's so goddamn good. They take like all the old school toys that we loved and they do big projects with them. It's amazing. Look it up. James May's Toy Stories. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Denzel the Trouble says, have you seen... we got that. Uriel says, I'm worse of both worlds. Green Thumb says, Clarkson bought farm to dodge tax. I mean, he also, throughout Top Gear, he's always wanted to do farming things. I always thought it was a weird thing about him. You have to remember, I've been watching Top Gear since the 1900s. When I was in college, I graduated college in, God, I don't remember, 2001, 2002, 2003. Really early days in college for me. A really early YouTube video popped up with Clarkson doing a voiceover saying, this man is a Ferrari test driver and he tests Ferraris, and then there's a 550 Maranello that the hood blows up and with this fire suppression system turning on, and he pauses and there's this big white puff of smoke, and he goes, to destruction. And I remember watching that video. This is back in like torrenting days. I remember watching that video in college and being like, oh my God, that's the coolest shit ever. Like, what show is this? And did a whole bunch of research and found out that it was Top Gear. And then that was it. Like, ever since then, I would get the newest Top Gear episodes as early as I possibly could, from various BitTorrent sites. So I've been watching it for a long time, and I always thought it was weird how, like, into farming, it would be just like little moments here and there. But yeah, Clarkson has always kind of he was always weirdly into farming and like massive tracts of land. And so I was not surprised at all when the farming show came out. I mean, maybe he did it to dodge tax, but he has always wanted to do farming things and been interested in that world. in my opinion. New government came in and changed loopholes. He fronts farmers. Demo was hilarious. Him getting called out for boasting about tax dodging. He's a blowhard. Yeah, Clarkson is he's hysterical, but he's not a dick. That's for sure. Curtis Hayes says, Integras are lower end, integrated battery on the back of the headband, no ability to unplug the... That sucks. I don't love the no ability to unplug the antennas, although the 03 and 04 systems, the range is just outrageous, even on the stock antennas. So you can make a pretty strong argument for, like, you don't really need to change the antennas. But, like, I need to change everything all the time, so that would drive me mad. Put different ones in. G2 have a touchpad. Integras have a five-directional button. G2 SD side VNOS. What's VNOS? V nose. SD card between your eyes on the Integra. That's whatever. I'm used to that. Zip says, does the stock Mobula 7 1S fly like crap? No, it just doesn't fly great. Mine is the most underwhelming thing ever. Not sure if that's normal. The motors are way too low of a KV. The 20,000 kV 802s, that's just nowhere near enough KV. If you take that Mobula 7 1S and you swap it to the Tiny Whoop iGao motors, which is an 802 27,000 kV, it's night and day. It just needs more RPM. 802 is a good motor size for it, but 20,000 kV is way too low. The really cool thing to do with a Mobula 7 1S is to get a BT 3.0 lead, and where the hell are they? They're over here. Is to get a BT 3.0 lead, run it out the back, switch it over to a Mobula 7 V3 frame, and you can have a 2S 75mm rig that'll blow your fucking tits off. It'll have tons of runtime, tons of power. It's incredible. The really good battery for it. I've got tons of live streams over the last month about that. You can check out with loads of flight footage and all the info on the build. The battery that's really good on that setup is sold out right now. It's over on Tiny Whoop. It's a 300 mAh 2S battery with a BT 3.0 lead. It's nice and light. It looks like this. It is fucking incredible. So yeah, that would be what I would recommend for that Mobula 7 1S. BT 3.0, Mobula 7 V3 frame. You can leave the motors alone. You're going to motor limit them down a little bit. Just watch a bunch of these live streams. Here's a super cool YouTube trick. You can search on just someone's channel, and the search really digs. So go to anybody's channel, and there's a little magnifying glass that's kind of hidden here. Click it, and then in this case, you're going to search for Mobula 7 2S, and it's going to dig on just my channel. And there's all kinds of live. Don't watch these from 2 years ago. Don't watch this from 1 year ago. Where the hell are all the recent live streams? Do this search instead. Just search for 2S. Just search my channel for 2S. Here you go. Converting Mobula 7 ELRS to 2S for all the power. 1S versus 2S on 70. Nope. 3 years ago. This must have been Tiny Lifter related. Here you go. Lightweight 2S analog 75mm Ripper. This is a good one to watch. T-Motor 1002, 18,000 kV motors for the 2S Walksnail Tiny Whoop. The Walksnail rig is 6 grams heavier. There's a bunch of live streams. Here you go. 2S 75mm equals the GOAT. Yeah. Lots of good stuff for you. Talking about the builds, testing different motors, lots of flight footage and discussions. It's outrageous. As soon as those batteries come back in stock, our little community here needs to buy all of them. Frank Nicholas says, my new RadioMaster RMGX12 is the best for me. Frank knows. Himok says, are the Happy Model RS0802s a good choice? I almost see nobody uses them. I wonder why. Any better suggestions? I bent a lot of 1mm shafts, and I'm worried to use 1mm on 2S 75mm. They are arguably the best motor for a 2S 75mm build. They are super lightweight. They have a 1.5mm motor shaft, and 20,000 kV is where you want to be. You're going to motor limit down to like 70% to get started, and then if it's not enough power, creep it up. 75, 80, 85. By the time you get to 85, you'll be making mega power. You won't want more. Martin Tanley says, what's your favorite 2S flight controller for HD, or what are you going to use for your DJI builds? It kind of depends if you're doing built-in with analog versus external with typically HD. External with HD, it's what we're working on tonight, the Beta FPV 12 amp with no USB port. This has been awesome. I don't really know of many others that have ELRS built in. I'm sure there are, but yeah, this Beta FPV 12 amp version 3 has been awesome, and I love that there's no USB on the bottom because it makes mounting these big old 2S batteries super, super simple, and you can do things like using this in a Mobula 7 V4 frame. I still think I like the V3 frame better, but it gives you more options, which is really nice. And it saves a little bit of weight. USB port's heavy. Hemok says, Beta FPV has new 30,000 kV 702 motors with upgraded magnets that has more thrust compared to the old 30,000 kV motors. I hope that those are the motors that are on the Champion Edition, because they make gobs of power. And you really don't need more power than those. So I'm going to assume that those are the motors that come on the Champion Edition, which I've flown a ton. I have like a whole live stream dedicated to that build. So if you want to see what those motors fly like, you can check that out. Uriel says, yeah, of course. Denzel the Turbo says, amazing coiffure. What's coiffure? C-O-I-F-F-U-R-E? I know what a coif is. Arrangement of... Oh, okay. Hairdo. It's a... Hair's big tonight. My hair is a big comment of the chat tonight. Is it that insane looking? Ray's says, don't worry, you're not alone with the hand grease. My hair was shorter. I did the same thing. I told people I used pomade. Yeah, I don't like pomade. It gets all over your pillow, and then it's just fucking gross. Iric Gripboy Tuft says, what is your go-to analog camera for Tiny Whoop these days? You're not going to like this answer, but it's the discontinued RunCam Nano 3. It's ultra lightweight. It works in the Mobula 6 canopy. Yeah. Very hard to find. They discontinued it like 6 months ago. I did a bunch of I did 2 live streams in the last few months testing a bunch of cameras with this excellent little rig that Kevin Sumner built for me. And the Beta FPV CO3 is like everybody's favorite. I think mine included. The RunCam Nano 3 is zoomed in a little bit. It's got less field of view, which I kind of like because you can see a little farther ahead to line up the gaps a little earlier. But the CO3 is really, really good. So yeah, that's a really good choice. You're just gonna have to figure out how to mount it. I don't have a mounting setup that I absolutely love on the CO3. The RunCam... One of the things I love about the RunCam Nano 3 is that with this Mobula 6 canopy, you screw it into a mount, and so it's really secure, and it sits completely flat. It never rotates in the mount, and when a camera rotates in the mount and you try to fly, it sucks. Because like when you level the horizon, you're crabbing sideways. And if you want to try to line up a gap, that's a great way to never be able to line up a gap. It's super annoying. So yeah, the mounting of the camera is as important as the camera as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure that there are some mounts that mount the CO3 perfectly level and with a setup that it will never rotate, but I just haven't looked because the RunCam Nano 3 is significantly lighter and it fits in the canopy that I love the most. The RunCam Nano 3 in the Mobula 6 canopy is very lightweight, super durable. The camera always sits flat, and I have a bunch of the RunCam Nano 3s because I'm a hoarder. So yeah. Uriel says, let Maggie do a haircut with a drone. No, never ever. Timmons is in the house. What's up, dude? He says, have you seen any improv dance competitions? I fell in love with dance a little over a year ago, and most nights I watch half an hour to an hour of improv West Coast swing and or zouk and or insert name of couples dance here. I'm yeah, I get obsessed with stuff. Tim says I've seen a few come across Facebook, and those dancers are crazy talented. Yeah, I learning to dance has been super interesting. It's given me a reason to move my body around and somewhat get a little bit back in shape, which is becoming more and more important as I plunge into my 40s here. So in that respect, it's been amazing. The other thing that's been super cool is the improv side of it. How do you and another human being not talk to each other and like sync up in a way that looks really cool to really good music? It is wild. And like, you want to talk about a skill ceiling that is like sky fucking high? Like, sure, FPV, absolutely. Just outrageously high skill ceiling. Couples improv dance though, maybe just as high. There is so much depth to it. It's really, really cool. It's been super fun. I am just as enamored with it now as I was like after a couple of weeks. The first few classes were super intimidating. Just being like so bad at it, having like zero history, literally zero history of like dance. But like luckily I've been a drummer since like the age of 9, and so I've got rhythm pouring out of my ear holes. And I've been listening to music that whole time, so I have half decent taste in music, and that does help a little bit. Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. I'm super lucky to have found it. And yeah, the improv side of it is just fascinating, man. This like physical communication with another person is really, really cool. Really cool stuff. And the people that are at the really high levels, like I'll send somebody like a video and they'll be like, man, they must have worked on that for like months. And it's like, nah, that was improv, dude. Those two people have never danced together before. Like, they've probably heard that song together before because they're hitting a bunch of the breaks, but like those two people have never danced together before. It's just like what? It's crazy. CMYK says, ran both of those props this weekend on the F-35 frame, and it was a blast on both. 1804, yeet! Yeah, the 1804s are good, man. Those 1804s are really come alive on pitchy 3.5-inch props. Good God, did they make some power. Raze says, one last thing, wanted to thank you for teaching me about mass damping from a video 5 years ago. Nice. You said, oh my God, told you not to use so much grip because yada yada, so thank you. Yeah, mass damping is something super interesting. Coming into FPV, I knew all about mass damping because it was something that Formula One used in the noses of the cars for a brief period of time before they outlawed it, because they were putting this gigantic oil damped weight in the nose of the cars, which is super sketchy and dangerous. If you don't know, mass damping is basically like if I'm having vibration problems with this rig, if I make it a whole bunch heavier, it'll help the issue. The heavier something is, the less it's going to vibrate, right? And what Raze is talking about, though, is early days of FPV. We're going back like 10, 11, 12 years now. Vibrations were the biggest problem. And one of the things that they did to get around the vibration problems, back then the propellers were not very well balanced, the motors were not very well balanced, and so like the damn things just shook all over the place. And so one of the things that they did is they built a clean, dirty setup where you would put your heavy shit, your battery, mainly your battery, on the same structure as your flight controller with your gyro. And that weight would keep that part of the rig from moving. Just having a heavier amount of mass will naturally not want to vibrate. And if it does vibrate, I think it'll actually vibrate at a lower frequency. But the point is that it won't want to move because it's got more mass and it's heavier. and then they'd put like a set of rubber grommets, and then you'd mount the motors and all the shit that is going to vibrate, right? And so your flight control and your battery are on this plate, and you got some rubber dampers hooking up to the other plate with the things that shake like hell, and so they can all shake like hell, and the gyro and the camera is the other heavy thing, can be on this other plate. Once the propellers got better balanced, they moved away from that. It's kind of a pain in the ass because you've now got like almost a gimbal set up, and it's just, you got these rubber dampers holding your heavy shit, so when you crash, it rips the rubber dampers, and your battery and your flight control and your camera go flying, right? It sucks. 6 or 7 years ago, with micros, oh my god, Tommy Tabahia, micro propellers were not very well balanced. Micro motors were not very well balanced. Tommy was an old school FPV guy, and he remembered mass damping from early days of 5-inch and 7-inch and shit like that. And so he built the Acrobrat frame. This was right around the time of Quad Camp, where I met Tommy, and I did the crazy power loop Matty flip thing inside with a 4S 2.5-inch, I guess it was, rig. And so he knew I was super into micros, and he got me, he was just diving into the Acrobrat, and so we exchanged info and became friends, and we bounced all kinds of ideas back and forth about the Acrobrat, and then and that was what he was doing with it, is he was using stronger rubber grommets to connect a clean dirty 3-inch rig. And it didn't work as when you would run a stiffer grommet, the stiffer the grommet you ran, the better it would perform. Up to the point where if you zip tied the two plates together, that's how it performed the best. So unfortunately, it didn't really work. It was a great idea, and it was a really cool attempt, and they flew pretty good for what they were. But yeah, in the end, there are a lot of problems with the clean dirty setup. One of the biggest problems that I think we were running into is that it changes the it like the motors and the propellers will produce a vibration at a frequency, and it doesn't move around, and the filters in beta flight can target that frequency and kind of can't basically cancel it out. When you do this clean dirty setup, it creates all kinds of wacky shit. You've got all kinds of different vibrations going on at different frequencies. So like you take a black box log with like one big nasty vibration, and now you've got like 1, 2, 3, and it was a great idea, and it was a really cool attempt. But it makes the situation so confusing, and there's so much going on. It adds so much complexity. And if we've learned one thing over the years with FPV quads, it's to reduce, like one of the best things you can do is reduce complexity and just simplify. And it was also really hard to make that frame strong and durable in crashes, but boy, was that fun. That was really, really fun. The V1 and V2 Acrobrat, to try to make that, to try to fix a lot of the inherent problems with 3-inch rigs at the time. In the end, the fix was just to put pressure on the prop manufacturers to figure out how to make the propellers better balanced, and the motor manufacturers to actually start balancing the motors. They didn't dynamically balance those those smaller motors because it was harder to do so. With enough sales, with them selling enough of those small motors, it made sense for them to spend more time and figure out how the hell to get the balancing mud in there to balance them out. But yeah, mass damping is super interesting stuff. Look up F1 mass damping if you really want to go down the rabbit hole. They oh boy, crazy shit. Note it says, if you haven't already, please go into some detail about mass damping from there you go. I was one step ahead of you. Mikhail says, are you excited about the 04 Lite? Seems like a great option for 75mm plus whoops build, toothpick micro builds. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm not excited about having to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a new set of goggles, but I've been wanting to get the live broadcast rigs over to 03, so that I can, instead of sending 720p to the TV truck, send 1080. And I've drugged my feet because I knew that as soon as I went in on 03, they would release 04, and so now 04 is here. So it's kind of perfect. Like I'm sort of managing to skip almost all of 03, and so it's like, yeah, now's the time. So very excited. 10 grams for 4K, for 10 grams for a VTX and a camera that produces what the DJI Neo produces. That's insane in terms of image quality. That's absolutely outrageous. B-Mud Skipper says, I do suggest getting the Happy Model Super X HD flight controller while you can before the 04 Lite comes. Shutterbug 85 HD was so ahead of its time. That 2S 85mm hype train is coming. Yeah, there's going to be a hell of a... I bet you it's a 3S hype train, though. I bet you... because nobody understands... Because everybody thinks that just more voltage is always the answer to everything. I bet you they skip 2S and they go straight to 3S. We'll be on the 2S train. Well, we know what's the right voltage. Boondock Striker says, would you ever put 1404 4600 kV on a 2.5-inch 3S rig? Yeah, totally. Well, I don't know if that's going to have enough RPM. For 3S, you want like minimum 5,000 RPM. I would really be looking for like 6,000 RPM, which is going to be super hard to find. So yeah, if you're going to do that, you're going to want to find a really pitchy 2.5-inch prop. The most pitchy that I know of is the Azure. There's an Azure 2540, I think. It's what I run on the broadcast rigs. It's the pitchiest 2.5-inch tri-blade that I could find. There's a bunch of like 5 blades and stuff, but I'm assuming that you're doing like a freestyle build and you won't want a 5-blade. Scrolling back up because YouTube scrolls me to the bottom of the chat at random. Teddy, don't grunt at me. I'm working. Did you guys hear that? He keeps jumping up with his new toy, and he literally just grunted at me because I wasn't playing with him. Jesus. Uriel says, it sucks. Had to wait a year for the next part, so I said FY. Not sure what that's in reference to. Denzel the Turbo says, you're hereby on notice for your Lord of the Rings insolence. I knew somebody would get pissed. Braves Bean says, cool watch. Thank you, dude. This is, I finally got this watch band. This is a watch band from Campiasano. They make motorsports livery-themed watch bands. This is the John Player Special, which is a super famous old Formula One livery on a lot of the old Lotuses. I got this Shark Freestyle ages ago, specifically because I wanted to get this watch band. I literally bought this watch because I wanted to get this watch band, and they match up pretty damn close. The John Player Special livery is gold and black, and so this is a little bit gold, and the Freestyle Shark watch is a little bit yellow, but it's pretty close, and I'm kind of digging it. The Freestyle Shark watches are my like super OG. I had one when I was a kid, and it's just I was flying a gig a couple years ago, and the producer had an old Casio calculator watch, and I was like, oh man, that's the coolest OG shit ever. Like, I always wanted those when I was a kid. He was like, yeah, me too, man. Now I finally have one, and that put me on this like looking for old school watches thing. And yeah, you can get these Shark Freestyle watches for like $20-$30 on eBay. Just put an eBay alert for Shark Freestyle. There's all kinds of cool color combos and shit. Now I've got like 4 of these that are color coordinated to the watch bands from Campiasano Club, like Rothman livery, super nerdy car guy stuff. The Enzo the Terrible says, I'm not mad, just disappointed. Uriel says, better 3D print Princess Leia. Oh, God. Come on, Uriel. Cheatonian says, I wasn't offended until you called Harry Potter the same genre as Lord of the Rings. CMYK says, nope, LMFAO. Frank Nicholas says, wire and battery built into the strap means you can't swap strap. Oh, that's right. That sucks. I love swapping the straps to something more colorful. I'll figure it out. Green Thumb FPV says, have you seen any of Guy Martin's work? Yes. Guy Martin is hysterical. I forget the name of his show. But yeah, Guy Martin is a crazy motorcycle guy. And I'm not much of a motorcycle person, but he's just such a cool character and personality. And he's kind of a lunatic. But yeah, Guy Martin is another really good one to watch. Uriel says, the man who dies with the most toys has won. Yeah, that's a funny t-shirt from ye olden days. Curtis Hayes says, what do you think of the movie The Departed? That's with DiCaprio and Pacino, right? I haven't seen The Departed in forever. I can picture the I can picture the cover image. I'm sorry, Jack Nicholas, not De Niro, Nicholas. Yeah. Oh, that's right. And Damon. Oh my God, Mark Wahlberg too. Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I don't actually remember. I don't remember much about it. Undercover cop and a mole in the police. Yeah, right. The Irish gangs in South Boston. I need to rewatch that. I remember it being really good. I remember digging it, but I don't remember anything else about it. I probably haven't seen that movie in 15 plus years. Uriel says, Clarkson's now what people like to see money-wise. McBuca says, hey dude, if you get a chance, could you show us the 2S motor screws and spacers on your Etsy? I haven't had a chance to get them up there yet. It's $5 for a set of the spacers, $5 for a set of the screws, 13 of the screws. Just message me and we'll arrange it. I will eventually get them up on the Etsy store. If you're desperate to do an order on Etsy, order things. No, don't do that. Never mind. I was gonna say order things that cost $5, but then when they go out of stock, it messes me all up. Just message me. We'll figure it out. Mick Buchan says, I never watched Top Gear, but I wanted that guy to build a motorcycle out of an erector set to try to drive around the Isle of Man. Fun video. Yeah, so that's James May's Toy Stories. Chris Croft says, Goggles 2 and Integra are end of the line, not being made anymore. That's perfect. The price will come down. Chris Croft says, because DJI goggles are certified by countries' regions, that's why they're non-removable antennas. I assume EU made that rule. Interesting. Level 1 Drone says, I may have missed it, but your thoughts on the Newbie Acro B 2S 75 BLV5. I've never flown anything from Newbie Drone. How are they? I did a whole live stream about it. Go to my channel, click the magnifying glass, and search for BLV5, and you'll find it. BLV5. There it is. BLV5 got me kicked out of the mall. Yeah, it's the BLV5 is what opened my eyes to how unbelievable 2S is on 75mm rigs. That particular 2S 75mm rig is awful heavy, but it still flies incredible because 2S is just insanely good. So yeah, I wouldn't personally buy that rig, but the frame that it comes with is actually really good for tiny lifters. And yeah, I mean, Newbie Drone rigs, you get customer service from California, which is pretty awesome. And they're not terrible. You can custom build something that's way better, that's got way better power to weight ratio, runs way longer, and has a better quality camera on it. But if you just want to bind and fly, there's nothing wrong with it. Himok says they're new 702 30,000 kV. Wow. What the Champion Edition needs is better runtime, not more power. But I guess they're trying to compete with the RC and Power 0702s to have the most powerful 0702s. I don't know. I prefer the Happy Model 702s. That's just me, though. D'Angelo the Terrible says, now that you're a dance master, could you give us a little tutorial on how to do the ray gun kangaroo hop? I cannot. I have not learned to dance by myself yet. Everything that I've done has been couples dancing. So without a follow, or now without a lead, now that I'm learning to follow, I'm pretty useless. At some point, I'm gonna have to learn how to solo dance, because there are times when you're couples dancing that you are each solo dancing. But I'll get there. Couples dancing is what's fun for me right now. Uriel says, have you seen We Speak No Amerivano? You like it? I've not. What is that, a movie? Raise FPV says, couples improv FPV. I've actually, I flew at one of the West Coast Swing events. It is in the, I believe it's in the Patreon only playlist. Hold on. I think, or I might have, they might just be, oh yeah, no, there it is. I put one of them up, it looks like. Wicked Westy Wednesday night dance party. I can't play the song, but yeah, this is where I am every single Wednesday night. This is West Coast Swing couples dancing. The other one I didn't put up because it's pretty raw. It's of two of the instructors, but this is pretty cool. This is with the Walksnail 65mm Batwing mounted rig. This is the magic of that rig and why I will never take it apart. 60 frames a second, absolutely safe to whiz by a stranger's face while they're dancing. Super, super, super cool. I just put this link in the chat. Watch it with music. It's pretty rad. Nate Adams says, I'm still catching up, and you may have figured this out, but ELRS can have issues with some UARTs and how they power up, so plugged into Betaflight, they'll be fine. But when a battery... when a battery plugged into the ELRS receiver goes into bootloader mode and won't connect to the radio, you just need to swap UARTs and it'll be fine. SpeedyV flight controllers have this issue. So what Nate is talking about is... oh, what's it called? It was a huge issue like a couple years ago. Oh, I forget what it's called. But basically, if you're having some really weird shit going on, switch from an odd numbered UART to an even numbered UART. Or if you're on an even numbered UART, switch to an odd numbered UART. Teddy, you were just relentless tonight. As if that's any different. So yeah, that's what Nate's talking about. I don't think that will cause ELRS to come unbound, though. ELRS coming unbound is a whole separate thing, and I've only ever seen that happen when it's just broken. I've had it happen, and I could not find a single solution to it. But that's super interesting. Yeah, whoever was having that problem, try that. If it's an external receiver, switch it from an even to an odd numbered UART and see if that helps. Get back to me if that helps. I don't think that it will, but if it does, I want to know about it. Good call, Nate. Good thinking. James Thomas says, OCD is a blessing and a curse. Ask me how I know. Did you get the motor spacer screws? I did. I have, and I tested them. M1.4x5 is the way to go for the 75mm 2S builds. It is just long enough, but not too long. Uriel says, you understand physical communication. I am learning it. Nate Adams says, when a battery plugged in the ELRS... oh, no, we just talked about that. CMYK says, by the way, the F-35 frame and the 1804 can take a hit. Is this... perching on sunshine. Let's see. Oof. That was a big one. Wait, where'd it go? Where did it go? That's zero throttle the whole way down? Where the hell did that crash go? Here it is. No, it's not. What? Oh, you sent it to me with the timestamp. I was gonna say, what on earth is going on? Oh, that's from the fucking moon. Oh, that's a big hit. Yeah, the 1804s are outrageously strong. That's my favorite thing about them, is how durable they are. I love that the F-35 frame can take a hit. I've been curious about that. F-35 being the Quad-Mula 3.5-inch frame. Lights Camera Coffee says, very interested in hearing the 04 clean HDMI out strategy once that's all figured out. Yeah, me too, man. I'm desperate for someone to figure that out, because I almost can't buy goggles until someone figures that out. Because if it's only going to work on the 03 goggles, on goggles 3, I should say, then I have to buy goggles 3. If I buy goggles 2 and then it won't work on that, I'm going to be pissed. But I don't know. Frank Nicholas says 10 grams for 04 light micro with camera. That's why the Neo weighs only 135. Yep, including battery, 45 grams. Early day when I saw that first screenshot and or found out about the 04 light, I came on that live stream and I was like, I guarantee you guys, the 04 light is just what's on the Neo. And like, I don't think anybody's confirmed it yet, but like, it's pretty obvious that's what's on the Neo. And so that's pretty cool, because the quality of the video coming out of the Neo is staggeringly good for something that's as light as it is. It's not quite as good as the Avata 2, but it weighs half as much. Less than half as much, maybe. Great Scott says, did you print an acceptable canopy for the race spec? Yeah, I haven't printed anything other than the Benchy yet. It's getting frustrating hearing your frustration. I only fly that on the live streams, and then after the live streams, I'm usually pretty tired. And by the next day, I come over here and there's like a million other things waiting for me. I've also had a whole bunch of gigs recently. And so that's been eating up most of my like time. And I was supposed to have another one tomorrow, but it got pushed back to next Thursday. This is supposed to be my kind of quiet season for gigs. When it does quiet down, I'll have more time and energy to put into some of these tiny whoops. But yeah, for right now, bear with me. I apologize. Nate Adams says, Goggles 3 also have 6 antennas compared to 4 on the Goggles 2 and Integra. If you're fine ending the warranty, Integra and Goggles 3 antennas can be replaced with a UFL pigtail. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pull them apart. I have a funny feeling I'm going to end up going Goggles 2, but we'll see. Uriel says, we know Speak Americano featuring Cleary and Harding. Try later. What's that? Himok says 1102 22,000 kV 45mm props 2S. No, there are no 45mm frames that are going to hold a 2S battery, and so you're going to have to like jank a battery on there, and just don't do it. Regular old 75mm with 2S, tons of power, tons of flight time, no reason to go any bigger. Until this 10 gram 04 thing comes out, then maybe, but at that point, just go up to 85, because there are frames that exist that'll hold the 2S batteries, you know? So yeah. Also, the 75 Pro frame is a pain in the ass to find an AIO that fits in. And just, yeah, jump up to 85. Same exact, the 75 Pro, again, the 75 Pro bind and fly, awesome, love it. Custom building with a 75 Pro frame, total pain in the ass. And it's just not worth it. It's not enough bigger than a regular 75 to warrant it. Just like the 65 Pro problem. It's just like, like if you want to go bigger than a 75, go up to 85. If you want to go bigger than a 65, go up to 75. This like in between thing, it limits your prop selection, it limits your frame selection, it limits your electronic selection. It's a pain in the ass. Uriel says, no, you know it, but hesitate or I don't know. Frank Nicholas says DJI Avata 2 weighs 377 without a battery. 377 with battery. Oh, and the battery is 145 grams. Got it. Himok says, I 3D printed a mount. Which mount? All right, I'm caught up on chat. And there's 18 minutes left. Luckily, this will be a quick... Teddy, back off, buddy. Back off. Relentless. Absolutely relentless tonight. What do you want from me? Love? You came to the wrong place. I'm fresh out. I'm fresh out, buddy. Back up off me. Stop it. This is not how we play. That's how we play. Oh, boy. I threw it into the gates. Would you guys rather see me fly or build? If you want fly, type fly. If you want to see me build, type build. This is going to be a pretty easy one, though. I don't know if I'm going to get through it. Yo, it is cold down here, dude. It is very cold in this basement. It is very cold here in Georgia. Apparently, we're going to get snow on Friday. I doubt it. All right, I'm seeing lots of builds, so we're going to build. If I remember, I'll fly one battery at the end. Because I changed the gates around, and I want to show them off. Hey, Martin Tanley with a $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, if O3 air unit input says 7.4 to 26.4 volts, and my Super X HD says 2.4 to 8.7, will it be okay, and what would make an O4 not? Mind explaining what to look for? Thank you. Teddy, what are you doing? Why are you digging? Okay, so O3 air unit. What are you building, Martin? When the Super X says 2.4 to 8.7 volts, that's the just sending battery voltage directly into that. If you then try to branch off that battery and power that O3 air unit, when the battery is fresh, it'll run it, but as soon as that battery starts to discharge and sag, that O3 air unit will shut off. You have to feed that O3 air unit 3S, realistically. Or a solid 9 volt or 8 or 9 volt power supply from a flight controller. The Super X doesn't have that. The Super X is not a great... So what you would have to do is you would have to feed VBAT into an external 9 volt BEC and then feed that into the O3 air unit. That would be how you would have to... That would be what you would need to do to run an O3 air unit from a Super X. You're going to have that external power source. I hope that answers your question. Does that make sense? Denzel the Terrible says, very cold. Georgia is full of sissies. Look, I grew up in the Northeast. I did not move 800 miles south for this bullshit cold. Uriel says at AliExpress they had a snowsuit for Teddy. Oh, God. Thank you for the support, Martin. Tag me and let me know if that's the explanation that you're looking for. I think that's the... I can answer your question, but I think I see what you're getting at. I think I know what you're trying to do. And hopefully the answer that I gave you is exactly what you needed to hear. But if it's not, please do let me know, because I super, super, super appreciate you doing a super chat to support the insanity. Okay. 1S Walksnail rig is officially no more. Now that the top plate has come off. I have the leads over here, so I'm going to desolder from the VTX here. Let's get some flux on these pads. And then we'll pop these on off. And away we shall go. 6S1 says, did you see someone posted a Whoop with O4 Lite on Tiny Whoop Facebook? I did not. Man, I can't remember the last time I was on Facebook. Especially now with... what's that little shitbag that owns Facebook? whatever his name is. Especially now with him catering to idiots and taking out any fact-checking whatsoever, I'm even less likely to ever go on there again. All right, I did not put enough flux on here. Let's fix that. Because with these tiny little pads, man, it really helps. Zuckerberg, that's it. What a little sissy, man. Just bending right over and taking it up the tailpipe. Oh, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. Oh, you give me some of your money? Okay. I'll do whatever you want, Orange Man. What a loser. Somebody just unsubscribed from the channel. See ya! Alright, here we go. The VTX is free. I gotta figure out what to do with this. Oh, God! You guys are watching Teddy the entire time. Sorry about that. Oh, shit. Alright. Now, I gotta figure out what to do with this. This is a perfectly good, I don't know. Maybe I'll take this whole setup with the... Oh, look at these leads. They're super long, too. Okay, no, I don't feel bad. I'm going to actually desolder these leads. I did not... I was going to say, the leads are perfectly... are the perfect length for a Walksnail setup. Maybe I'll use this for a 65, but no, I just got lazy and ran these... left these leads full length and stuffed them under there. That is not like me. I'm pretty insane about cutting leads down absolutely as short as I possibly can to save every fraction of a gram. All right, so this is going to be oriented like that. Do I have the... Oh, this is a Walksnail that I've removed the heat spreader on. That's exciting. Save a little bit of weight there. I'm going... There's one of the screws popping out. By the way, these screws are M1.2 by 12. M1.2 by 12 are the right length screws for these double stack setups, in case you were wondering. I am no longer going to run this Singularity antenna. I'm going to swap this over to a Micro V because I've absolutely fallen in love with them. And look at that. I've got one sitting right here. This is the one that fell off that build the other day in the carpet that I couldn't find. So that's perfect. All right, well, these are going up, over, and then across. And so, in theory, they are in the right order, but I should look it up. I should not just trust myself. Walksnail light wiring. Just trying to figure out a good flight controller 2S frame I have that will support 04 light when it comes out. Nice. Well, the 04 light, here's the thing about the 04 light. You should be able to run it from 2S. The 04 light will just barely run on 1S, but when the battery sags down, it'll shut off. 2S direct VBAT to the 04 light should be completely fine. That's what I'm going to be doing. The 03 requires a higher minimum voltage. Images, and is that the one? That's the one. That's all I needed to see. Okay, I can just do it by the colors of the wires. Oh wow, I'm glad that I checked this. I would have sent power to the TX and RX pads. All right, so let's get these lifted up. Teddy, you're gonna drive everybody using headphones insane. Is that really the legacy that you want to leave? As if he's dying or something. So weird way to phrase that. Okay, so I'm gonna solder left to right. I'm just gonna take a guess at the yellow and white. I got a 50-50 chance. This is what I used to do, and it sometimes works. I'm gonna go yellow first. But first, I'm gonna put the nerd goggles on because all this tiny little soldering is such a pain in the ass without them. So we're gonna go yellow. Just grab it here. And there should still be some flux there on the pads. All right, there we go. Yellow, then white. I do not recommend that you just guess, but I'm pretty sure that I remember the only wires that needed to cross over each other were the power leads. I have built and rebuilt this 2S Walksnail rig a whole bunch of times, so I'm taking liberties here. And then black, and then red. Okay. Hold this wire, choke up a little bit on the wire with the tweezers. Get the wire absolutely into the right position. You should not be using the tip of the soldering iron to move the wire around. You need to have the wire in position using your offhand. The tip of the soldering iron is to bring in the heat, not to move the wire around. If you're using it to move the wire around, what's going to happen when you remove the heat? The wire is going to move. And you don't want that. Alright, so I need to tin the tip of the iron a little bit. Just pick up a little bit of solder on the tip of the iron. It's going to help with the heat transfer. And I'm actually going to rework this. The wire moved back a little bit. Take it up off the pad. Get it into a better position. Put it back down. And now we've got our voltage. I think this is VBAT that I'm sending it. I don't even remember. It's been a while since I had this rig together. Pretty sure it's VBAT though. And just like that, the 2S Walksnail rig is back together. The Walksnail Light VTXs are what keep dying on this thing. Although I did kill one of the flight controllers, but that was 100% my fault. But yeah, the Walksnail Light VTXs are not the most durable things in the world. I've had the ones that I have on the 65mm rigs have lasted a long time, but I don't fly those things nearly as hard as I fly this. And yeah, I've had a little bit of trouble with this, but I'm sticking with it because it flies incredible, and to have a good power to weight ratio 75mm like outdoor rippable rig is utter magic, and it's worth it. And Caddx does repair Walksnail stuff. I just have to get off my ass and send it in. Why is the battery lead coming out the front? What? Did I put this in the frame backwards? I put this in the frame backwards. Oh man, I also... Teddy. Get out of here! Leave me alone! Why did I put this in the frame backwards? Did I do that on purpose? Oh, man, I also wanted to change this BT 3.0 lead. Ugh. All right. Well, I also want to change the way that this ELRS antenna is routed. I forgot. I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to improve on this. All right, let's get that taken care of. So get this antenna facing upwards. Why on earth? Super confused. There's like a lot of backwardsness going on with this thing right now. Like the way the camera mount is sitting. I don't know what I've done here. Oh God, the dog's over there growling. He's obsessed with this new toy, this little Santa Claus toy. He's ripping its little Santa head off. Let me push this out of the frame. Okay. And all right, so there's that. I really need to. I really don't like having the BT 3.0 hanging out the bottom like this. There's an obnoxious amount of wire length. I am going to do it the right way and horrendously shorten this, which will also save me a little bit of weight. And so let me just get this all untangled. I'm going to have to unplug this antenna in order to do that. Okay, so there's that, and then there's that. Okay, so now I have access to the battery lead. Somebody type in. Nope, we're good. We're good. It's got it marked there. Omnifixo time. Let's get this done. Oh boy, he's trotting around the room now. Really going for it tonight, this doggy. Really going all in. All right, so I'm going to desolder this, and then I'm going to resolder it on the top with the leads super short. So first things first, let's get some flux on these. All right, and then the nerd goggles are going back on. Bird Person FPV says, would a 10 volt 220 UF cap on 2S be a nice to have or not needed? Definitely a nice to have, but also maybe not needed. Caps are great. They really are. And I'm half tempted to add a cap to this to see if it helps these VTXs last longer. But I think I'm going to let one more of these VTXs blow up, I guess. Yeah, it shouldn't be needed, but if you can put it in there, if you can find a spot for it, always. If you can make a space for a capacitor, put a capacitor. It'll never hurt the situation. They really don't weigh much, and they're only going to help. That's the answer. It's a tough to answer question. I like the way you asked it, though. Nice to have is perfect. That's the perfect description of it. But yeah, it should technically not be needed. So. All right. Soldering iron is at 670 degrees. That's just enough. Let's pull this guy through. And then move over to the ground. Okay. Heat is transferring. Be patient. There it goes. Pull it through. And we're good. We've got plenty of solder on those joints. We're going to be flat soldering on the top of these through holes. But we need to shorten this. My favorite thing about BT 3.0 on this Mobula 7 V3 frame is the BT 3.0 fits perfectly through that hole in the frame. And then what's even nicer about that is that the batteries that we run, which have a little lead on them, it prevents the batteries from shooting out the front of the frame. Somebody on my Discord figured this out, who's probably in the chat right now, who's rightfully pissed that I keep forgetting their name. But there's a lot of you guys, and it's hard to remember all of your names. So I got to get this measured absolutely perfectly here because it's a super short run, you know what I mean? Because it's going to hook up to the battery leads right there. Although I can actually just kind of look at these battery leads because they're right next to the post, and it won't... This is actually super simple. So it's hooking up right in the front of the post there, so I can just go like that. And that should be just about right. And then on this lead, I will go like that. And that should be absolutely dead on. Yeah, and that gives it... I gave it a little bit of extra wire because you always should. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm actually going to cut the tiniest little bit off of the blue voltage wire here because it's just ever so slightly too long. So let me just real quick. There we go. All right, beautiful. So now I'm going to strip just a tiny little bit off of these guys because these pads are itty bitty. So yeah, that's the super lightweight BT 3.0 setup that prevents the battery from flying out the front. It's really, really, really nice. I've been using these flat cutters to strip wires out of laziness lately. I don't recommend that you do it unless you've done it a few billion times, like I have. It's an easy way to nick some of the inner strands of wire. Until you've done it a million times, you should use your fingernails. They work shockingly well, and they're attached to your fingers, oddly enough. But I've done this enough where I know the exact amount of pressure that I can apply here to the silicone to not hit the inner strands of wire, and then you just yank it off. But again, the better way to do it is just to use your index and your thumb fingernail, drive them into the silicone, and then you can pop it off. And that way, your fingernails will never nick one of these little strands of wire. All right, that's looking pretty good. The blue wire is still ever so slightly too short, but that's okay. Next up, we're going to tin these. So let's put them in the little Omni Fixo here and just add a little bit of solder to the naked wires. You never want to try to hold a wire and add solder at the same time. You want to tin the pad. You want a little bit of extra solder on the pad, and then you want to tin the wires. And then all you have to do is hold the wire in place and connect the two. And the solder that you've added to the pad and the wire will melt together and connect. Hey. All right, I got a little bit too much solder on the power line. Let's just clean the tip of the soldering iron and then get it removed. You can remove extra solder by just heating it up and then flick the tip of the soldering iron and it'll clear off a nice chunk of the additional solder. In this case, a little bit too much came off, so I added a little bit back. There we go, that's about right. Okay, so now when you do that, be careful of little rogue blobs of solder flying all over the place. So now we're going to put this on here. What I'm going to do is create like the shape that I want from these wires, like that, so that they'll come in and sit nicely on the pads. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Hold on, let me just do it. So the pads are kind of at angles a little bit. So I'm making the wires, boy, can you guys not see that? I'm making the wires go out and in. A little bit of out and in like that. Because that's where, there you go, now you can see it. So that's, because that's where, the way that the pads are. OmniFixo again. Let's use it to hold this guy in place here. Slide this up a little bit. No, that's not quite right. If I use it to hold just the wires themselves, yeah, that'll work. All right, I need to lift this up a little bit so that I can get this guy in position. Now, you know what? I'm going to freehand this. Now that the wires are in those little shapes, this should be pretty easy. So let's just freehand this. Since the wires and the pads are tinned, I can use my offhand to hold the wire and it'll be totally fine. So there we go on there. There should still be enough flux on here as well, but if you're new to soldering, at this point you would want to add some flux. There's almost no such thing as too much flux. Unless you're soldering to the bottom of tiny whoop motors. Then there is. Because the flux is sticky. And the flux can get on the bushing and the washers, and the motors don't have enough power to push past it. So you got to be careful with that. But that's a pretty specific kind of thing. All right, here's the ground. The ground is always going to take longer, so be patient. There we go. And I just want to hit this power lead again. I'm going to pick up a little bit of solder here on the tip of the iron, which is also called tinning the tip of the iron. Just want to make sure that there's enough solder on here. You want the solder joint to be nice and smooth up onto the wires. That's the key. And I'm actually going to hit this ground one more time as well. Let me move this the hell out of the way because it's being a pain. I want to get more of an angle on the ground lead. I want to kind of angle it downwards a little bit more. When you've got the silicone insulation in the way, you got to do that. There we go. You got to make sure that the silicone insulation isn't... so like if this is the silicone insulation, like imagine that the wires are sticking out and this is the board. If the silicone insulation is sticking out like this, all right, so here's the individual strands of wire, right? If you've got the silicone insulation sitting down on the board, in here, there can be a big gap and a big void. You got to make sure you point the wire down. Point it down so that the solder goes smoothly up from the pad up over the wires, right? And that's what I was just sort of doing here. This camera will probably not focus, but yeah, there you go. See how it's nice and smooth on that joint there? That's what you want to see. You don't want there to be a gap. And then on the blue one, yeah, it's not going to focus, but whatever. So that looks pretty good. Now we get to see if I made it too short, which is always a possibility, which sucks. Let's take a look. Let me fixo, and I'm going to put it properly in the frame this time. Although it matters less now that we're soldering them back, straight back like this. Nah, it's just right. Ooh, boy, is that nice. It actually weirdly like helps it go onto the posts of the frame when you do this, because it's like another point that sort of locates it. So yeah, there it is. That is such a nice way of putting your BT 3.0s on if you're using this Mobula 7 V3 frame. Ooh, that is just delicious. Okay, so now we got to get this Walksnail board back on here, and it should be like that, because that's the way the wire run is set up. And then we've got the antenna, which is... Oh, that's what was throwing me off. The antenna is plugged in the rear of this. Okay. That's right. I remember now. So I need to put like a little bit of a reverse angle on this micro V antenna, because it's going to be going from the rear. It's going to get plugged in, and then it's going to go up like that. So I'm going to put a little 180-degree bend in this, just so that it's a little bit happier in there. There we go. Okay. And yeah, the only thing that sucks is the micro V ends up being like a hook. It's going to be traveling like this, so this is like a little hook, which is kind of creepy. But I don't love the idea of like twisting these up. It'll be fine. This here is going to sit back forward, so I want to twist that. Yep, there we go. And then this is the ELRS antenna. It's going to go up under the canopy like that, so that it's protected, but so that it's also vertical. Running that ELRS antenna in between the boards will work fine inside the house, but once you go outside, it'll have a little bit of a tough time. Okay, and so this is going to go through the canopy and then back there. That looks good. The only other question is, are these grommets that I have on here tall enough? And the answer is a resounding no. Shit. I'm gonna space this out with... I'm gonna use spacers on this. Hold on, let me think about this for a second. Yeah, I've got grommets on the flight controller that are really low profile, and then grommets on the Walksnail that are also very low profile. I need grommets that are a little bit taller on the flight controller is going to be the easy button. Changing the grommets on the Walksnail Lite VTX sucks. So... yeah, I'm going to take this flight controller up and off, and I'm going to swap these grommets out, because I think usually the Beta FPV flight controllers are fairly easy to get the grommets in and out of. I'm having to go all the way in on this one. This is a bitch. Yep, see, they make the holes a little bit too big, which is actually kind of nice in this exact scenario here. And right on cue, one of these wires is about to break off from the flight controller. The white wire is hanging on by one single strand, and so that's going to also need to get fixed. And there it is, and it broke off. And that's all I've got. That's all the patience that I have for tonight. It's 12:17. I still have to take a shit. And I'm hungry. I'm going to fly one battery. And then... oh, you son of a bitch, you. Always there to F with me. These FPV quads. Ooh, is that frustrating? I'm going to fly the Mobula 7 2024 V1 40,000 kV 1.5mm motor shaft ultimate freestyle tiny whoop. 0702 40,000 kV motors, Gemfan 1210 biblades with 1.5mm motor shafts. Super durable, super fun build. The either RX or TX wire. All right. Here you guys go. So I took the, I had the smaller tiny whoop gates on the inside so that like while I'm going through here, oh, you son of a bitch, you. So that while I'm going through here, it made it easier, but it just bugged me. It just looked stupid having the bigger Gemfan gates on the outside. So, oh my God, what is happening? So yeah, this quad gate is now way harder. It might actually be too hard at this point. Initial impressions are not great. 2 in a row, not being able to get through there. I might have to make it go, put it back. I also found the purple tiny whoop gate again. Hey, easy. Nope. I hear Teddy pitter-pattering. What's up, little buddy boy? Whoa, you getting brave. Oh God, 40,000 kV. It nipped that that gate there. That was cool. Did more than nip it that time. Nipped it there as well. Whoa, big dog. Oh, come on now, really? Can't let me fly backwards through there? Can't be cool? Oh, it was so close. Oh, the reverse dive. Man, those quad gates look cool flying through them. But what I really like to do with all the hanging gates is power loop and Matty flip through them. And get out of here. Get right out of town. And it is hard to do when those outside gates are smaller like that. Stop it. Ooh, that does look cool as shit, though, doesn't it? Ugh. Man, it gets me way more often than not, though. Oh, God, it looks so sick. 4 of those gates winging by is something else. There you go, friends. 2 minutes and 20. I'll do another one. I'm intrigued by the quad gate. And I've got 4 batteries sitting on the charger. And it's fun to fly. Did you guys fly your 6 batteries today? Come on now. Kaleidoscope tunnel. The problem is those are so long. I don't like to just fly through the tunnels, you know? I want to be like upside down and backwards through the tunnels. Ah! Man, I'm having a hard time with the giant power loop lately. Oh, you son of a bitch, you. Teddy peeks his little head up. He's like, what? What's all that noise over there? You flying like an idiot again? Yes, Teddy, I am. Ooh! Oh! I love when I snap it, when I snap the pitch back like that really early and you can see the gate coming. Ah! It doesn't, I don't have enough time, though, to make a correction. Like, if it was a bigger, if this is a bigger room. Oh, okay. If it was a bigger room and or a higher ceiling, I might be able to, like, see it coming and, like, decide whether or not I'm gonna make it. Oh, man. But I am not... My reaction time is not, Oh! There we go. Good enough for that. Ah! Nope. I kind of, sort of, maybe made a little bit of a correction on that one. I decided to bail on it. I tried. Wasn't able to save it. Can you please let me fly, world? Ugh. Apparently not. And that's it falling down behind, I believe. Okay. Nose is running. Where is it, Teddy? Oh, it's right here? Ah. Didn't fall down behind. Easy, boy. Easy, boy. Easy. Easy, little boy. Uriel wants a Matty flip. I aim to please. Easy, Teddy. Oh, God, you bastard, you. Ah! Yeah, those 4 gates in a row. It's a lot of depth to try to cover. Man, everything is cock blocking me tonight. There we go. Well, I still didn't get out of there. Ah! I mean, that's sort of clean, but I prefer to come down like that. There we go. I tried to really lay that one out. It looks so cool when you do it like that, but the difficulty level goes through the roof. So close. Oh, God! Nothing broke. Spaghetti Man. Spaghetti Man. There you go. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com to support me. I love you all. Be good. Tip your waiters. Fuck that. Tip your waitresses. Kick the waiters in the shins. Be good, friends. I'll see you on Friday. I don't know what we'll do on Friday, but we'll do something terrific. Oh, what a weird guy. That's CiottiFPV. What a weird guy, man. Kind of gangly looking. Weird guy. But a nice guy. Later! I'm not ready. Here's some more flying from Rampage. I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm ready. The computer's not ready. I clicked it, computer. Now it's on you. There it is. See you later. See you Friday.